So, before I begin, I want to establish the premise of how these readings will work. There'll be 2 stories read, sometimes Twitter, sometimes Reddit, and maybe someday some viewer-requested stories, which would be pretty cool. We'll have a head-to-head for each person, then give our verdict toward the end as we figure out who the bigger asshole is. The rating system will be simple. 1 angry cat equals 1 point. Ideally, you'd want to have less points. Also, everyone will have fake names for the sake of not being put into pronoun hell, he, she, we. Note that this will all be done in good nature and to maybe help other people figure out how to navigate hard or difficult situations, to make better choices, and help resolve any ethical or moral dilemmas anyone may be facing. I want it to be clear that I am no better or worse than anyone in these stories, and neither are you. Do not walk away from this believing that you are better or worse than anyone here. Mistakes happen, people grow and change all the time. We can only hope these people do not repeat the mistakes in the future. Everybody gets one.
I, 32 female, had a bestie, 30-year-old female, who has been cheating on her husband on and off for almost 2 years. At first, they were on a break. While she spent some time living separately and enjoying the freedom of singlehood, she had some fun for a while, but after a couple months started having casual fun with another friend of mine, 38 male, and they continued the situationship on and off to present day. They ended up developing feelings for each other, and the whole thing was a bit of a mess. However, about a year ago was when the cheating really started, as she endeavored to stop living the free life and was committed to fixing her marriage. But as you already know, it wasn't long before she secretly went back to the casual fun situationship guy. Their secret played heavy on many people in our friend group, but she assured us time and time again that she'd owned up to her mistakes and wanted to be better at fixing her marriage. This didn't last long, as she felt she could stay friends with the situationship guy, which always led back to them becoming more than friends. Flash forward to almost 3 months ago, we all took a trip away for a concert and went out drinking afterward. After bearing the burden of the secret for so long, obviously drunk me had had enough and decided to tell my bestie how much their secret was affecting me while we were out in the clubs. I didn't remember this convo until a week later, where she sent me a text that refreshed my memory, explaining that I had threatened to tell her husband if she didn't. There was a lot in her message, but she explained that by saying that I crossed the boundary. She said she didn't want to fight, so I only said I was sorry, and although I couldn't remember much, I definitely used the wrong place, on time to have that conversation. She then ended up telling her husband everything that week because of what I had said, allegedly. And for the nosy people wondering, I don't know what the status of the relationship is at present day. Since then, I remembered a bit of what happened and how much the situation was affecting me. I had said I have felt it was getting to a point where I felt so guilty, I may have to tell her husband, but we have not had a chance to talk as I've given her space, with one message to check in to tell her I love her a few weeks ago. I've talked to quite a few friends because I didn't know if I was being an asshole because she was so upset and so distant, but so far all of them said, not the asshole, I'm just feeling like I'm losing my bestie because of my morals, and I'm not sure how to move forward.
The concept of taking a break in a relationship is highly contentious. While some see it as a way to reassess and refocus, others view it as a potential red flag, or even as an excuse to explore other options. In my honest opinion, taking a break can be beneficial if done with pure intentions and clear boundaries are set. Stepping back from someone can provide the necessary space to evaluate why they're in your life and what they truly mean to you. It allows for a fresh perspective, which can lead to personal growth and a deeper understanding of the relationship. However, this approach comes with its own set of risks. Not all breaks mean that someone is seeking a better partner, but I would wager that a significant number do. Often, one person is dissatisfied with certain aspects of the relationship and uses the break to explore other options while still maintaining their core relationship status. This behavior, especially in a marriage, is diabolical and dishonest. The lack of transparency in such situations is a major issue, as it can lead to further complications and betrayals down the line. Another red flag in this scenario is that the person Miranda chose to hook up with during the break was already a friend of Kathy's. This detail suggests there might be more to the story, potentially indicating that Miranda had been considering pursuing something with Mike for a while. The break could have been her way of justifying her own actions and exploring new possibilities without the immediate guilt of infidelity. Months into the break, Miranda began seeing Mike, and they entered a honeymoon period. I'd like to stress that when dating someone new, it's crucial to see past the initial excitement of the honeymoon period. During this stage, everything is going to seem perfect, and you may even overlook some potential red flags. But I think it's important to remain objective and cautious for your own sake, as failing to notice some issues early on can lead to unnecessary heartbreak, so after just a couple of months, Miranda developed feelings for Mike. This timeline is concerning because it's unlikely that genuine feelings would develop so quickly, especially after taking a break from a marriage just a few months ago. This suggests that Miranda might have been disillusioned with her marriage for some time, possibly considering an exit strategy before the break even occurred. Some people believe that hooking up with someone during a break is automatically considered cheating. My opinion on this varies depending on the communication and boundaries set beforehand, because those are really important. Relationships are complex, and sometimes making them work requires putting your ego to the side. For some, not all, exploring other suitors might be part of why they're taking the break in the first place. However, both parties must agree to this agreement for it to be ethically sound. It's a good thing I'm speaking objectively, man, because if you try and fuck other people, best believe my ass will not be waiting for you. Since we don't know the exact terms of Miranda's break, let's assume, based on common patterns, that she had been seeking a better suitor for some time. Given that she started seeing Mike months after initiating the break, it's plausible that this was a premeditated decision. The fact that Miranda and Kathy had ongoing communications about the infidelity for a while is a significant red flag, suggesting a lack of genuine remorse or intent to work on her marriage, as she claims. Kathy, as Miranda's best friend, plays a crucial role in this situation. She likely knew about the break beforehand and was aware that Miranda found Mike attractive to some degree. Being part of the same friend circle, Kathy was in a unique position to see the red flags and possibly intervene. However, she chose to remain silent even after knowing about the cheating for over a year. Kathy wasn't close to Miranda's husband, however, which might have made her apprehensive about reaching out to him in the first place. But this doesn't absolve her of responsibility. Kathy knew about the affair for over a year and aided in its continuation by remaining silent. While she claims to have advised Miranda that the situation was messed up, remaining silent can be more harmful than speaking up. Silence, in this context, equates to complicity. By not addressing the issue head-on, Kathy indirectly supported her friend's deceitful nature. As Miranda's best friend, she knew the husband well enough to start a conversation with him, or at least express her concerns. Her decision to stay quiet reflects a lack of moral courage, and this passivity can be seen as betrayal to the husband, even if they weren't particularly close. Kathy is the asshole in this scenario, but it's also a complicated situation. Difficult conversations require a level of maturity that not everyone possesses. While it's easy to judge Kathy for not speaking up, it's important to understand that she wasn't the one making the decisions. The onus of the cheating lies squarely on Miranda's shoulders. However, Kathy's choice to maintain a friendship with someone engaging in such deceit reflects on her character as well. The company you keep says a lot about who you are as a person. Keeping a secret for a friend is a delicate matter. If a friend confides in you about a one-time mistake and genuinely commits to changing, keeping that secret might be justifiable. However, if the friend continues to engage in deceitful behavior, it's essential to have a more serious conversation about their actions, as remaining silent in the face of ongoing infidelity not only enables the behavior, but also makes you complicit in the betrayal. I really can relate to the difficulty of having to navigate tough conversations. While I feel I've matured a lot, I know I still have a long way to go, and it's important to recognize that avoiding these conversations doesn't just harm the person being cheated on, it also prevents the cheater from confronting their issues and growing as a person themselves. Kathy's failure to address the situation head-on may have enabled Miranda's behavior, but hopefully she's learned from this experience and will approach similar situations differently in the future. The moral and personal ramifications of this scenario are complex and multifaceted. Breaks in a relationship should be approached with caution, clear intentions, and open communication. When infidelity enters the picture, however, those close to the situation have a responsibility to address it, rather than enable the harmful behavior. Kathy may have thought she was being a good friend by staying silent, but in reality, her actions only contributed to the ongoing betrayal. And I think moving forward, it's crucial for everyone involved to reflect on their choices and obviously strive to act with integrity and honesty in all relationships, friendships, and so on and so forth.
My wife, 34 female, and I, 34 male, have been married for 9 years, together for 14 years, and we have 2 children. Long story short, prior to this year, I was depressed. This period lasted almost 3 years, and was a culmination of various things, such as my best friend dying, work stress, life in general. During this time period, I did not have sex with my wife, not even once. My libido had drastically decreased, but whenever I did initiate, my wife said she wasn't in the mood and wasn't feeling attracted to me. That really hurt me, and was also probably another of the causes of my depression. However, starting this year, I made a resolution to improve my life outlook, whatever necessary, and at least fake it till I make it. I started going out more, going back to the gym, because before I was depressed, I was a gym addict and had a more positive outlook on life. It's been almost 9 months now, and I can say that I'm the fittest I've ever been because I really slog it out at the gym and take out all my frustrations there. I am also generally much happier and have a very active life. My sex life has also drastically improved, and we have sex frequently. However, that is the only thing that really bothers me. While the sex is great, I don't feel any emotion or love for my wife. I still feel very hurt that my wife rejected me for years and told me many times that she was not attracted to me. Would I be the asshole for considering leaving her now that I have my life in order? I don't think my wife stuck with me at my lowest, and that has severely impacted my love for her.
First off, I want to address the fact that Richard made a separate account to discuss his marital issues because he was worried his wife might see it. This alone raises a red flag about the state of their communications. If you feel the need to hide your thoughts from your partner, it suggests there is a lack of openness and honesty on both sides. Just to be clear, I'm not pointing fingers at just one person, as this is a shared responsibility, but Richard's secrecy speaks to a broader issue within the relationship. But it raises questions about how Janet might react, which we'll get into later. Seeking advice from a third party or the internet is a fair way to navigate tough situations, but it's crucial to not hinge your entire stance on what strangers online tell you. Richard's situation is particularly challenging, as he claims he fell into a deep depression that lasted for 3 years. That's a heavy burden to carry, and I'm genuinely glad that he's emerged from that dark place. Depression isn't just a mental struggle. It's something that can affect every aspect of your life, including and especially your relationships. Richard and Janet have been together since their early 20s, weathering the ups and downs of life, and they have 2 children. A picture-perfect American dream. But Richard's post reveals a different side of that dream. He mentions that he and Janet have gone through 3 years without sex. That's a long time, but what's concerning is that Richard doesn't offer any context for why this might be happening, and that's where things start to unravel. Now, let's consider a few possibilities to be fair to Janet. Janet might have just given birth. They've been together a total of about 15 years, so it would stand to reason that newborns or 7 to 8-year-olds are in the picture. And it's well documented that women can experience a lower sex drive after pregnancy. The physical and emotional toll of childbirth isn't something to overlook. The kids could be a handful, and Janet might simply be overwhelmed with the responsibilities of being a mother. We don't know the age of the children, but raising kids is demanding, and it can easily take a toll on one's energy and libido. Depression doesn't just affect the person going through it, it impacts everyone around them. Richard's depressive state could have led to a loss of motivation, self-care, and overall well-being. These are all factors that might make someone less attractive to their partner, not just physically, but emotionally as well. Richard realizes his previous way of life was toxic and harmful to himself, and likely to the rest of the family as well. So, to start the new year off right, he went back to the gym, got in shape, and things were looking better than ever. Sex was great, he and his wife appeared to be getting along, so that's really good. Things seemed to be and he stopped loving his wife. Here's where the real issue lies. Richard sees those 3 years of Janet not being physically affectionate as a betrayal. He feels that her lack of attraction to him hurt him so deeply that he's lost a lot of love for her. But let's dig a little deeper into that. It's possible that Janet did reach out to Richard during those 3 years, telling him that she wasn't attracted to him anymore in a more serious discussion. While we don't have definitive proof, it's not unreasonable to think that there must have been some underlying reason for her to express such a difficult truth. Admitting a lack of attraction is never easy, and hearing it is even harder. Although Richard doesn't mention Janet bringing up divorce or separation, one might speculate that she could have been a driving force behind Richard's eventual turnaround. If that were the case, it would certainly raise questions about Richard's intentions now. It would seem as though she supported him through his struggles, only for him to contemplate leaving her once he got back on his feet. Let's not forget that Richard was a gym head back in the day. He likely got together with a woman who valued fitness as much as he did. So, when Richard stopped taking care of himself in that regard, it's understandable that Janet might have lost some romantic interest. Sure, she could have definitely been way more compassionate, but relationships are a two-way street. When Richard stopped being the person Janet fell in love with, it's not surprising that her feelings may have shifted a little bit. But here's the thing. Did Janet really have a serious conversation with Richard about his lifestyle? We only hear Richard's side of the story, and it's hard to know if he's giving us a full picture. Maybe Janet did try to have those difficult conversations, and Richard just wasn't ready to hear it. We can't know for sure, but it's worth considering that there might be more to the story. Let's explore how that deeper conversation might have unfolded if Janet had actually expressed her feelings. What if Janet sat Richard down and said, "Look, if things don't change, I'm gonna have to leave because I can't continue in a relationship where I'm not physically or emotionally attracted to my partner." Maybe that would have been the wake-up call that Richard needed. Maybe that would have led to a healthier, more open relationship, but Richard doesn't mention anything like that. Instead, he frames his turnaround as a personal journey disconnected from his wife and kids. And that's where Richard edges out Kathy here in our magical rating system for assholes. He doesn't seem to acknowledge the impact his 3-year depressive episode had on his marriage. When you share a life with someone, your burdens become their burdens, and vice versa. It's unreasonable to think that your choices won't affect your partner. It's okay to be hurt when your partner makes insensitive comments, but the mature response is to have a deeper conversation about what's really going on. Instead, Richard took to the internet, implying that he might leave his whole family because his wife didn't offer him pity sex. That's where he kind of crosses the line. Rejection hurts, but breaking apart a family over it, that's just plain selfish. Richard claims Janet wasn't there for him during this time, but let's be honest, that's flat out not true. She might not have been there in the way that he wanted, but to say she wasn't there at all is a straight up lie. Just because she wasn't physically affectionate doesn't mean she wasn't there to support him in other ways. In our little game show, Richard appears to be the bigger asshole here. He's failing to see the bigger picture and is putting his own hurt feelings above the well-being of his family. Superficial feelings, mind you. Relationships require work, communication, and empathy. And it seems like Richard has forgotten that. It's time for him to take a little bit of a step back and really consider what's important. Because attempting to leave your wife over being too horny is just not the right move.